want you to eat more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I love that idea, and the Buddhist idea, like the Dharma, the Sangha, the community, the teaching, and the Buddha, right? Those are those three ideas, and and all three of them together really support one another. So that's great. Thank you for that. I wrote down the yamas and the niyamas and the 8 limbs, and I think we pretty much covered all of them. Let's do, if you don't mind, let me do one more question. I'm going to list out the 8 limbs. So the yamas are the ethical standards. The niyamas are the disciplines. Asanas are your physical health. Pranayama, your breath, sort of using the breath for physical health. Pratyahara, sort of drawing in rather than like focus on the outside world. Dharana, concentration. Dhyana, meditation. And then samadhi, kind of whatever that is, when you achieve some union with something. But I was curious, I've only done a little bit of it, and I was wondering if it's part of your practice at all. Do you do any forms of pranayama, and how would you square that with vipassana, which is kind of like the opposite of pranayama? I'm just curious. Do you do any of that in your practice?
No. I mean, I don't. And I mean, I do ujjayi pranayama throughout the asanas.
Yeah.
But that's all. I mean, if you understand yoga, then there's a lot of yoga going on out there. There's a lot of lineages of yoga. There's a lot of practices. There's no mention of pranayama like in the Buddhist traditions. And you have to. You can't do it all. There's not enough time in the day to do it all, and it's not necessary to do it all. I recommend trying as much as you can try, but then trying to decipher for yourself, what you're drawn to and what you like and what works for you and what you feel like you need, and then implementing that, right? So I did pranayama, I experienced it, and I wasn't drawn to it. I was drawn to the vipassana really is what I've been really drawn to, because I would disagree with you a little bit when you say the asana is for physical health. I would say the vipassana is for physical health, because now we know that 95% of physical disease is coming from your mind. Right. Your body doesn't need that much. Right. I think asana is for feeling good in your body. Dissolving tension, increasing blood flow. I think maintenance is important. I think you would agree that it's important to brush your teeth now and then, right? That's called maintenance, right? You're brushing your teeth. Well, why not brush your shoulders, and why not brush your hip tendons? That's asana. It's a maintenance practice. That's all. But all real health comes from a calm and peaceful mind. The oldest living people on earth don't do asana.
Yeah, right.
But they do walk.
Right. Yeah.
They do walk. Yeah. So, I wouldn't get obsessed with asana being like it's needed for health. It's needed for maintenance. Yeah, maintenance is needed for health, sure. But remember, ultimately, the disease is coming from your mind, not your body. It's just manifesting on your body.
Cool. That's I was, I hadn't looked at these things for years, and so I wanted to look. I was just curious what your thoughts were on them. And I 100%.
The 8 limbs are different than the yamas and the niyamas. You mentioned the 8 limbs. Yeah. That's where pranayama is. It has nothing to do with yamas.
No, yeah. So the yamas and the niyamas are the first two, anyways.
But if you look at the yamas actually, there's like 5 or 6 or 8 yamas, and there's 5 or 6 or 8 niyamas.
Yeah, I can read those. I wrote those down here too. And the one is your number one, like nonviolence. Number 2, this is probably really good to talk about. 2 is being truthful, satya. 3 is not stealing. And I'd really be curious on your ideas of what that actually means in a real world, because I think people don't quite really think about that enough. And then moderation, we already talked about, and non-attachment, we already talked about. But how would you relate to non-stealing? Because it feels to me like there's just like cultural theft happening all the time in our culture in weird ways.
Well, for us the American listeners out there, what you just mentioned the Ten Commandments.
Uh-huh.
You just mentioned the Ten Commandments. You know, you again, truth is truth. We're being spoon fed it from all these different angles. Find the angle that works for you. But you know, basically everything you just said has to do with your mind. And again, all real health comes from a calm and peaceful
Yeah.
mind. So yeah, you know, I mean, if you're trying to manipulate someone to buy your product, you know, if you're lying or exaggerating or trying to give someone something they sell someone they don't need, you know, in a way you're stealing. You
Yeah.
know, and yeah, you gotta, you know, you have to be able to understand that. Like, you know, you don't want the one great law that's biblical is do unto others as you want them to do unto you.
Yeah.
So you don't want someone to steal from you, don't steal from them. Don't want someone to lie to you, don't lie to them. You don't want someone to covet what you have, then don't covet what they have. You know, it's that simple, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. Like, you know, and so what happens is that, you know, you're scared that you're not going to have enough. You know, so you rationalize why it's okay for you to lie or exaggerate about this thing that you're trying to sell somebody. Right? And, you know, it's, you know, you're exaggerating, you know, you're lying, you know, this and that. Then, you know, that's the simple part, right? But then what you have to do, right, is you have to, you know, the reason you're doing it is because you're afraid. You're afraid you're not going to have enough. You're afraid that you're not going to live up to what societal's expectations of success are. You're afraid that you'll be judged and criticized by other people. You're afraid that you'll be a failure in your parents' eyes. I mean, most of everybody's doing everything because they're scared. And the first thing that has to happen is you have to recognize that. And you have to say, like, okay, I'm scared, but I'm not going to let this fear dominate my actions. Right? I am scared. I admit it. Right? But I'm not going to let my actions be dominated by fear because nothing good can happen. And everything I'm doing out there is going to come back to me.